Hello everyone. Today I'm here with Dan, Frodan Chou, Hearthstone caster for most of you, but he's been in a lot of places in the esports industry, StarCraft, Halo, many things. We'll get to see all of them pretty soon. Hello Dan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. So we had a small introduction about you, but could you tell me a bit more about yourself?
I think you summarized it pretty well. I guess you can. I'm 26. I'm from New Jersey, USA. I've been playing games since I was 7 or 6 years old, and I love my job. So, is that enough to describe myself?
Of course, of course. So, does your nickname have any special meaning or significance? How did you come up with it?
Yeah, so my sister's the one that gave me this nickname when I was young. She's the one who actually got me into gaming in the first place. I wasn't actually that much into games when I was pretty young. I liked doing like drawing and I liked doing puzzles and these kinds of activities. I liked going outside as well. My sister really got into video games. That's how I did. So when I was creating some aliases, I went through a lot of different ones, but the ones that always stuck around was this nickname that my sister gave me. So it felt kind of nice because my sister's like one of my best friends in the world. So I carry around that whenever I go. So I like having it because it reminds me of her.
That's really awesome. So you have a long history in sports, competitive Halo, StarCraft casting, and of course nowadays Hearthstone casting. How did that journey begin and advance to where you are today?
So my history in esports usually started off as many commentators as a player. You know, I really wanted to go into professional playing. I first got wind of Major League Gaming (MLG) back in 2005, I believe. I started following the circuit around 2006, and then ever since then, I just felt like it was really cool to one day get involved. It was more of a hobby than anything. I wasn't really intending on starting to work in it, let alone be a caster. At first, I was a person that just helped organize community events, and then I was a big fan. I saw that other people were commentating and playing. I really wanted to get involved. I started trying to compete myself, and I always felt like I was better at communicating and talking as opposed to playing very at the highest level. I think it takes a certain amount of dedication and insanity to be as good as the top 1% of the players. So I started commentating some StarCraft. Just incidentally, I ran into some other clans who were casting StarCraft, and they asked me to help them out. And then one opportunity led to another, and that's where I am now in Hearthstone. So that's kind of like the short version of it. There's a lot of like small details. So many people helped me get to where I am along the way, and I'm very thankful for all of them. It's people always think like maybe that person like you're responsible for your own growth, but I've had a lot of people help me along the way as well.
That's really nice. You have also played Hearthstone competitively, and more specifically in SeatStory Cup, where you had a very good run. So what keeps you from playing it professionally, since we saw you're capable of it?
What keeps me from competing professionally is I think that I'm much better served as a commentator for Hearthstone. I definitely don't think that I will stop competing ever. I think competing once in a while is actually very good. Shows that you're very active and that you're willing to put yourself in the seats of the players. And I think that that's more powerful as opposed to competing regularly, where I don't think that that's where I'm best at. You know, I feel like if I compete, I wouldn't be one of the best players, and I wouldn't have that great results, and I would miss the commentary booth a little bit too much. And then also, I do a lot of work for Twitch, and my role for Twitch involves me being very actively communicating to all the organizers. That's what casting helps me do as well. So I think doing commentary expands a lot of my influence a lot better than just playing. Although I wouldn't turn down opportunities to play if it makes sense and I really want to. So I'll always be competing in Hearthstone as long as I'm casting.
That's awesome. It's nice to keep a competitive aspect of the game as well. So you are in charge of making some changes in Hearthstone. What would you change?
That's a really hard question. There's so many things that I want to change about Hearthstone. Um, just like in the game itself, there's a lot of features that need to be implemented in a very soon, I think. One of them is social features where you can connect to other people. I think one of the biggest tragedies that Hearthstone has right now is that it's really hard to share stuff with other people. You can't like the best thing you can do is add somebody and then have them spectate your games. Being able to watch how some people build decks or be able to share collection with each other in some capacity, or even the social features of, for example, if there's an event happening that's like local to your game shop, you can connect to that through like a landing page. You click a button that says find local events and connect to friends. Because Hearthstone's like one of its biggest advantages is also its biggest weaknesses. The big advantage is that you can play it anywhere. You can play on your phone, you can play on your tablet, your iPad, or your PC.
That's
You
true.
can play it on train, you can play at home, outside the park. But because of that, we've become so used to not playing with other people because we just play by ourselves. And I think that's one of the biggest downfalls because in card games we're always playing other people. We're not necessarily playing against computers all the time. So it's a very good experience to branch out the social aspect of Hearthstone, I think. And that's what really kept a lot of other card games alive for many years. The fact that you're going out, meeting people, having fun, competing, playing against them, sharing collection, sharing tips. It gets a lot more fun. And anybody who's ever sat down and try to get to legend, for example, or try to get 12 wins arena, and they have someone sitting next to them talking about stuff, they know how fun it is already. So I'd love for the social aspect of Hearthstone to continue to improve. I think more not tournament formats, but just more formats in general for the players to engage in. I think arena is a very good entry point for people to start engaging in the draft type format, but drafting is one of the most fun things also about CCGs in general. Like any kind of card game where you're able to build different decks with all kinds of strategies, you need to have multiple draft type formats. And Arena is just one small piece of the big pie that could actually end up being like a very fun limited format. As for the competitive scene, there's a lot of structure that needs to be changed. I could go on about it, but the short version is that Blizzard needs to find a way to make a good, compelling tournament format, as well as not sacrifice too much just for the sake of making their tournament circuit the number one. This sounds like a really weird way to say it, but Blizzard tends to try and make their tournament circuit the most important circuit, and it ends up kind of becoming this black hole. Like every tournament has to shape around their events, and that's okay, having like a world championship. But this year was too much. We had two preliminary weekends and then three championship weekends, and then you kind
Yeah.
of throw in the other regions having prelims, and there's like 5, 6, 7 weekends out of every quarter that are just taken up by HCT, and then BlizzCon happens, and we don't have much time to have cool formats. People always ask me, for example, like why aren't you doing Challenge Stone? Because I'm in charge of kind of putting it together
Hmm.
with Rania, and I just don't have time. Not only am I busy doing the events, but once HCT is over, then DreamHack has to happen, then SeatStory Cup has to happen, Starladder has to happen. Where's the room for all these other events? So there's a lot of volume right now going on. And Blizzard's experimenting. They went from last year not really doing any tournaments to this year doing too many. And we'll find some middle ground. There's a lot that needs to be done, but I guess the good thing is that Blizzard's very optimistic. Like they keep trying to improve. So as long as they don't just give up and just say, screw it, let's just give up on it altogether, I'm pretty hopeful for the future.
Great. I really like that you touched the social aspect of the game. That was very interesting, and that's something not many people advise Blizzard to do. I'm really glad you did.
Yeah, like something really simple, in my opinion, would be to have in-game deck list sharing and capability of building. In Diablo or World of Warcraft, for example, if you link something in a chat, someone can click on it and it immediately pulls up the picture of the items that you drop,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
example, right? Same thing in Hearthstone. If you link a card to somebody you're chatting with, they can hover over it, see what that card is doing, or even better yet, if you can kind of share your deck list and then someone goes to the collection and kind of builds it out for them so they can have easier access to like discuss the cards and the deck list instead of using these weird chat features like Giazzo or Push or Imgur, screenshot stuff, and
Yeah,
then you can't even click the links because they don't want people to get in trouble for clicking links on the game client because they can get viruses and stuff. So there's a lot of things that they can do just to improve the aspect of just making friends and communications and like improving the experience in Hearthstone altogether that I would really love, in my opinion.
yeah, I love that idea with deck list sharing. It would be awesome. I believe the community would totally accept it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's great. So when you were in college, you won an award for a speech concerning eSports. Can you tell us a bit more about this? What did you cover in your speech and how did people react? Was it an unknown subject to them?
A lot of them played games, so they actually were very supportive of my speech. When I was saying stuff, people were like, nodding and clapping, feeling very supportive of it. So essentially, one of during my time in university, they offered for every person within the schools to do a speech on a subject, very similar to the TED Talks. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but in America, we tend to do these big open forums for discussion of ideas. So people can talk about medicine or environment or any kind of science
Yeah, yeah.
advance or philosophical discussions. I talk about esports and just why it's a growing industry, and specifically kind to relate to why I think it's the next generation of entertainment. And a lot of people liked it, and my professor ended up awarding me. They picked 5 people to give the actual speech in front of other people on the auditorium, and I was one of the 5 people. So that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, what are your goals for this year, or in Hearthstone and in gaming just generally, and maybe the first months of the upcoming year?
I already achieved one of my main goals this year, which was to not embarrass myself at SeatStory Cup. I think actually the opposite happened, where I was able to redeem myself. Last year, for people who remembers when I played in SeatStory Cup the first time, I did really bad, and I felt like it's just not very good for me to have that kind of showing, and then people hear me commenting, they're like, he did so bad at SeatStory, what does he know? So I really want to come back and do well, and I did well last one, and I did one in this past one too this year. So it felt good to accomplish that. Another one of my goals was actually to start climbing to top 100 legend finishes consistently. I haven't been able to really achieve that. I did finish in the top 100 this past season, but this past season didn't really matter as much. Not a lot of players gunned for it as hard because some of them gave up. So it felt good to get, I think, like top 50 in Europe server for August, but it's not as meaningful.
Achievement.
Yeah, it's still pretty good, but it's not as meaningful as doing it earlier. So that's some of the goals. Like I want to continue to improve my playing skill in Hearthstone. For the first months of the upcoming year, I think I just want to make sure that the projects that I work on, because I'm putting together some events with other organizers for Hearthstone, and I really want them to be successful. And I'm not talking about successful from a viewership point of view. I want them to have lasting community impact, where not just the fact that people say, "Oh, that event was so fun to watch," but maybe fun to go to, or maybe so fun that they want to bring their friends or their family to come to those events as well. I want little kids to adults to young people like me and you to be able to go to the events, have a lot of fun, and then just look forward to the next one. Hearthstone shouldn't just be a game where people sit in an auditorium theater, and watch. It's a game that as soon as you watch something happen, you kind of want to do it yourself because you can play those cards, you can play those decks and strategies. I want that to be something that people really enjoy. It's a shame when so many people say that they'd rather watch Hearthstone than play. I think both are just as important for the experience. So that's probably my upcoming goals for the first month of 2017. By like the summer of 2017, like I should like 3 events should be happening, which are pretty unique, and I hope like that I've been involved in, and I hope people enjoy all.
I'd love to see this as soon as possible. Sounds like the deal.
Yeah.
So, do you have any advice or thoughts you'd like to share with your fans or other aspiring casters that want to be like you?
Man, advice. The the easiest thing to do is to complain and just give up. I think a lot of people who want to become commentators or just want to get jobs in the industry at all, they see how hard it is initially to get in, and they make every reason or excuse not to get involved. Like, oh, I'm too busy with my real life job, or I wouldn't be good at it, or it's too difficult. Like, it would take too long. You just have to get started, but you don't even have to go like all in. You don't have to quit your job. You don't have to break up with your girlfriend or boyfriend. You don't have to ignore your kids. You can do it as a passion hobby. That's how a lot of people got started. The industry is looking for also a lot of good people. It's not just players and commentators, but also graphic designers, also people who understand business sales, lawyers who can handle contracts. And journalists too. We actually don't have that many great journalists. We have to rely on just a very few in order to get a lot of the word out. So if you're a good writer, author, if you're a good artist, if you're very good at music, even if you're good at design, marketing, all these things are really important. So the industry is going to continue to grow. Keep exploring what really excites you, and make no excuses. Keep pursuing.
That's great. I think we can wrap it up. Do you have any final shout-outs?
Yeah, just thanks to you, for reaching out, man. I know that it's really important for people to continue to connect to the community in some way, and I think journalists in general are just like one of the most appreciated and undervalued resources in the community. The media in general is like very sparse with like doing the good stuff. So thank you to you and the organization. Big shout out to Temple Storm as well. I know that we're not always the number one results for Hearthstone, but we're always keeping the community's interest as our number one. So I think even though people see that we're not necessarily competing and winning all the tournaments, keep in mind that we're always trying to build something that the community can enjoy moving forward. So
that's what matters most.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much for having this interview with me. It was an honor to have you here today. You can all follow Frodan on Twitter at Frodan. I have the tag right here, you can see it. So make sure you drop him a follow. Once again, thank you very, very much for having this interview with me. Thank you everyone for watching. Bye.